You hear me all right?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can. All right, we're about 30 out.
Wonderful. Okay, so forecast first, then package.
Correct. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to News 6 Extra. I am streaming executive producer Thomas Mates. Julie Broughton will join us actually in just a moment, but we've got a lot going on today. Of course, this week is Hurricane Week here at News 6, and we are working to get you all prepared for the inevitable hurricane season, which is set to start on Sunday. Whatever the season brings, you need to take this time now to make sure your home, your valuables, and your family are all prepared for whatever Mother Nature has to throw at us. So we'll be taking a look at that. We'll be taking a look as well at how a community, Wilbur by the Sea, is still recovering more than 2 years after Hurricanes Ian and Nicole battered that area. Molly Reed will have that story for us. We're also answering your questions all week long. Crystal Moyer is going to be taking a look at what you should be packing in your hurricane kit. She sat down with Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos to get all the information on that. We're also going to be looking at how lightning has caused another house fire in our area, and how Orlando's fire department has a new way of recruiting people, bringing people who live in the city that are more invested in protecting it. All that is going to be coming up in just a few moments. But first, we need to talk about the weather. It is Hurricane Week, but of course, we have our day-to-day forecast as well that we all have to worry about. So for more on that, we join the hardest working woman in show business, Julie Broughton. Julie, you
I don't
just
know
got
about
off.
that.
Well, you just got off the noon. You've got a package
Yes.
for us now. You
Hmm.
can anchor, you can report, you can be a meteorologist. I think it's accurate.
Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. I
All
will
right.
accept that compliment. But yeah, you mentioned the house fire yesterday in Seminole
Mm-hmm.
County. That was caused by a lightning strike. We had a lot of lightning in those storms yesterday. We are setting up for more of the same today. It looks like we have likely made that transition back into our rainy season. And that's where we deal with those afternoon thunderstorms, sea breeze driven every single day. So that's what we're talking about as we head through the day today. Let's go ahead and show you what we are talking about right now. Most of us are dry. Look at this. This is our Light Orlando Delivering Hope Together camera over downtown Orlando. You can see some blue sky there, but the clouds are really thickening up, and you'll notice the clouds, a little bit of vertical development there. So that gives us an indication that there's some instability in the atmosphere, that we could again today see more of those strong storms like we saw yesterday afternoon. Right now, we are sitting at 88 degrees in Orlando with winds coming in out of the west southwest at 13 miles per hour. Factoring the relative humidity, it feels like 95. And by around 3, 4 o'clock this afternoon, we'll all be talking about those triple digit heat index readings. If you're in Titusville right now, you're at 91. It is 88 in the villages in Ocala, 88 in Daytona Beach, and 86 right now if you are in Claremont. Here's how it feels right now. Already feeling like the low 100s in the village with your current heat index reading at 102. Feels like 99 degrees if you're in New Smyrna Beach, and also feeling like 99 right now in Cocoa Beach. Here's a look at the radar sweeping out. We are dry right now, but you'll notice some heavier rain approaching I-75. That is where we are seeing our West Coast sea breeze. So the West Coast sea breeze setting up, the East Coast sea breeze will get its act together. And as those two boundaries come inland, that will bring us that chance of those stronger storms. So what we're talking about today, we're looking at the potential of some slow moving storms, which means localized flooding with some of those heavier showers, a lot of lightning like we saw yesterday, and also looking at the potential of some gusty winds. So by 4 o'clock, we'll start to see most of the activity right along I-95 in southern Brevard County. But watch what happens as we take you into 5, 6 o'clock. That's when we'll see that sea breeze collision starting to happen from about Daytona Beach down through DeLand, Deltona, Apopka, back down toward Ocoee, and then down toward the Four Corners region. Everything continuing to push to the east, where you see the red, the magenta on the modeling. That shows us where we're looking at the potential of heavy rain. We had some small hail yesterday. We could see more of the same today. Then by 9, 10 o'clock, most of that will begin to push off of our east coast. So that will wrap things up for us for tonight. But again, our rain chances for today are right around 60 to 70%, which is a little bit higher than normal. That's where we'll leave it as we head through the next couple of days. So, our high for today, we go to 93, 76 overnight tonight, back up to 94 tomorrow. And the Storm Prediction Center does have us at a level 1 risk for most of Central Florida for some severe storms tomorrow. By Friday, 70% chance of rain. A front drops into Central Florida this weekend, and we could see that kind of fizzling out. And that means we might be slightly drier on Sunday. But overall, we are talking about highs in the upper 80s and low 90s, and expect those afternoon showers every single day.
Now, Julie, as we mentioned, this week is Hurricane Week here at News 6. And so everyone, every member of the team has been going out and covering stories to help people get prepared. You've got one for us today. You spoke with the state head of emergency management, Kevin Guthrie. What did he have to say about this coming hurricane season?
So I think this story is so important for everyone to see because you may not know that your homeowner's insurance, if you have flooding, if you do not have a flood policy, most homeowners insurances or renters insurance will not cover that. So I wanted to get his thoughts on who exactly should consider flood insurance.
Images like this are hard to forget. More than a week after Milton tracked through Central Florida last October, communities along the St. Johns River were left with devastating flooding as the river slowly went down.
Do you guys need help?
During Ian in 2022, some spots in Central Florida picked up more than 20 inches of rain.
There is no system infrastructure in the world that's designed to take 4 inches, 6 inches, 8 inches of rainfall an hour. Those things are going to fail. They're designed to move 2-3 inches at a time.
I sat down with Kevin Guthrie, Executive Director of the Florida Division of Emergency Management. We discussed his thoughts on preparing for the 2025 hurricane season.
Do you think a lot of people, they buy a house and their real estate agent is like, oh, you're not in a flood zone, and they just take that as gospel and really need to be looking deeper into, obviously, with infrastructure, levels have changed, there are all these new developments.
Right.
Things are just different than they used to be.
No, I think you're spot on because again, the realtors are telling them that you live in an X zone, you don't have to have flood insurance, which is a true statement. They do not have to have it. Is that the best practice? I don't think so. I think for folks like me and you that are in this business and do it all day, every day, it's better to have the insurance than not have it.
According to FEMA's National Flood Insurance Program, price of coverage depends on where your home is, how it's built, and how much it would cost to replace it. The average homeowner can get coverage for about $400 to $500 per year. And remember, after you buy your policy, it takes 30 days for coverage to begin.
Here's what I would say. If it rains at your house, you need flood insurance.
Okay, I thought that was such a powerful statement. If it rains at your house, you need flood insurance. And you can get flood insurance for renters policies. And if maybe you're saying, okay, I just don't have an extra $400 to $500 a year, you can also get what's called a contents policy, especially that's a good idea if you're a renter, and it will cover the contents of your home. So there are different levels, different layers. You can talk to an insurance agent and figure all of this out. I am not in a flood zone. I did buy flood insurance for my home, and I think the total for a year is about $600, so a little bit higher than that average. But Thomas, we cover this all the time. People, we lose everything to flooding, and they say, "Hey, I wasn't in a flood zone," and like Kevin Guthrie said, that's a true statement. You don't have to have it. But we just see time and time again, and it can just be devastating, and people never recover. And he was also telling me that the average FEMA payout is about $4,000. So that's not going to allow you to rebuild your life if you lose everything to flooding.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all know here in Central Florida with all of the development that's going on, some places that never flooded before are flooding now because the water is just getting steered in different directions than it used to.
Yeah, it is just a different ballgame. And I remember I actually did not buy flood insurance until last summer. It's just something that had kind of slipped my mind. And my flood insurance kicked in the day that Milton was making landfall. And I was here at work, and I just kept thinking, oh my goodness, I hope that nothing happens before this flood insurance kicks in, and was so mad at myself for waiting. So don't be like me. Don't wait. Go ahead and check that out because it takes 30 days and hurricane season starts June 1st. We're expecting an active season. So while typically we don't see anything in our area till August, September, October, you just never know. And also different policies, once something is out in the Atlantic, they'll stop writing those policies as that is approaching. So now really is the time to figure out if this is an option for you.
Absolutely. And I know that investigator Lewis Bolden also has another story on flood insurance tomorrow, kind of looking at the difference between federal and private flood insurance and what kind of challenges you can face depending on what kind of policy you have. So there's a lot to look into. But like you said, now is the time to make those decisions.
Yeah, and some coverage is better than none. So even if you can't afford coverage for everything, just try to get something, because we just unfortunately see so often just people's lives devastated when they have had no indication that they would flood. And some of these storms, like Ian dumping more than 20 inches in some spots, you just can't really combat that if that's coming down on you.
Absolutely. Like you said, there's no system in the world that could keep up with that amount of water all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Julie, thank you so much for your time. I know you just got off the noon, so I will let you go and unwind a little bit from that, but I appreciate your time and your expertise.
Thank you.
Thank you. As we mentioned before, Wilbur by the Sea is still experiencing damage from hurricanes years later, specifically Hurricanes Ian and Nicole. They really hammered that area, left some homes dangling off of what used to be, large beachfront properties. Now, the entire beach was eroded right up to where there were seawalls beforehand. News 6's Molly Reed was out at Wilbur by the Sea this morning, or this week, to look at the damage and the work that's being done to shore up those properties.
The beaches here in Volusia County sure look a lot different than they did just a few years ago. Here in Wilbur by the Sea, where homes once stood, we now have empty lots. Several properties still teeter over cliffs where pools and big backyards extended over a wide beach. And most of this damage was created back in Hurricanes Ian and Nicole in 2022, something those who live here pray doesn't happen again this year.
They've spent probably $100,000 at least in sand. God knows what their seawall cost, and those aren't covered costs by insurance.
Right.
So, and I understand people think that, they live on the beach. Well, living on the beach doesn't mean you have an endless supply of money.
I stood on this pool deck with property manager Krista Goodrich back in November 2022 during Hurricane Nicole, watching the homes next door collapse into the wild storm surge.
Now we worry that over here where the trap bags are, if the water breaches over that, then it can come around the side and go under the pool. And once it goes under the pool, then we're in the exact same situation.
Band-Aid fixes like these giant sandbags called trap bags now stand where seawalls once were. While many property owners sort through funding, insurance, and permitting still to rebuild, many homes and businesses left vulnerable if another storm hits.
If you're Iowa and you make corn and suddenly you can't make corn, your industry is out of business, right?
Right.
So our industry is tourism and the beach.
Volusia County is still working to rebuild beach parks and walkovers and re-nourish the beaches here too. In April, the county started a dredging project in Ponce Inlet to replace sand washed away in the storms.
But for now, this is what we have. We just live through it.
James Gavin owns Ocean Inlet Surf Shop in Ponce. The crews on the beach are a welcome sight for business and peace of mind.
Here we rent bikes and surfboards and paddleboards and kayaks. So also for our surf camp, the waves are going to get a little better with more sand filled in. And I think the sand is going to help Wilbur a little bit where they had a lot of erosion from the last hurricane.
In Volusia County, I'm Molly Reed, News 6.
Now, if you need more information on how to get prepared ahead of this year's hurricane season, which again starts on Sunday, head to clickorlando.com/hurricane. There we have all of our coverage of things like generator safety, getting your home prepared, clearing debris from around your house, how to store important documents, all sorts of useful information for the first-time hurricane experiencer here in Florida if you're new to the area. But it's also good just to go through a checklist and make sure that you have everything you need ahead of the season, even if you've gone through this, your whole life. So that is available again at clickorlando.com/hurricane. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll be taking a look at another lightning strike caused fire here in Central Florida. It's the second one in just about 24 hours as we brace for more afternoon storms coming up today. That'll be coming up in just about 2 minutes.
Your hurricane questions answered. I'm News 6 anchor Crystal Moyer, and we do have a question from Scott Gruber, who asks us, what would you recommend as the best hurricane emergency kit to buy? I'm here with Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos to get that question answered.
Yes, you can certainly easily buy a hurricane preparedness kit online, but the best thing to do is really create them yourself. So you want to kind of tailor your hurricane needs to your family. So my top 3 things would be water. You want to make sure that you have 1 gallon of drinking water per person per day. And you want to have at least 3 days just in case. Most likely we're going to be running out of power, so battery operated flashlights, lanterns, those little press-on lights, things like that. And most importantly, important documents, your passport, your driver's license, maybe a load of cash. Keeping all that in one waterproof little container might be your best bet.
And the easiest way to do that, just get a gallon Ziploc bag, right?
Exactly. Pretty easy, pretty cheap as well. But there's so many different things that you can do to make sure you're tailoring it to your family. We have a great downloadable, printable checklist on clickorlando.com. Just search clickorlando.com/hurricanes.
All right, thank you so much, Candace.
You're welcome.
Again, now is the time to get prepared. Hurricane season starts on Sunday, but of course it's not just hurricanes we have to worry about here in Central Florida. Our afternoon storms can be pretty potent, and that was the case yesterday. I don't know about what you experienced at your house, but there was a lot of thunder and lightning around my house yesterday, and all of that lightning actually caused a real problem for people in Seminole County. A lightning strike caused a house fire there. This is the second time in just 24 hours that has happened here in Central Florida, and we are expecting more storms on the way later today. News 6's Angie Casada went to scope out the damage in Seminole County.
This is my second house fire that was caused by a lightning strike within 24 hours. We're just outside the Buckingham Estates where that home was. But even though they're asking us not to be inside, of course, we're respecting that. But that footage was pretty intense. Take a look.
The fire erupted in the attic of the 2,700 square foot home on Northumbria Drive after lightning hit during a round of evening storms.
And the first unit on scene had smoke and fire coming from the eaves, as well as a propane tank that was on fire.
The flames reached an AC unit and propane tank, forcing firefighters to use more than 2,000 gallons of water to get it under control. Just 24 hours earlier, another lightning strike set a home on fire in Waterford Lakes. That roof also caught fire while a man was inside.
This does happen, it is not an everyday occurrence, but in Florida it is common for us to have.
Now, the good news is no one was hurt in either fire, but officials say this is a strong reminder that these back-to-back strikes, that Florida is just the lightning capital in the country, and that storm season is just beginning. Reporting in Seminole County, Angie Casada, News 6.
Now, speaking of fire departments, Orlando Fire Department has had issues over years with recruitment because they had specific requirements on who they could hire and what qualifications they had to have before they could take on the job. Now that has changed, and they're able to have their own academy for new firefighters. News 6 anchor Eric Von Aken went to find out how this is getting results and helping to protect our community.
In the past, the Orlando Fire Department could only hire certified firefighters. So that's men and women who had already paid for the certification, the training on their own. But that meant a much smaller pool of people because training is expensive. Well, now here at the Academy, these recruits are getting their training paid for plus a salary. So this allows OFD to hire, in particular, the most passionate, the most committed future firefighters, especially the ones from Orlando.
So this is really a game changer.
This is the chief of the Orlando Fire Department, Charlie Salazar. Was it more difficult to get the people that you wanted or needed?
It does make it more challenging. I'll give you an example. So when we open up our hiring process, since I've been here, we've had very few certified firefighters that are in essence female that have went through our application process.
This is Leslie Diaz, who graduated from Colonial High School about 7 years ago. You never in the world thought you'd be a firefighter?
No, sir, I did not. Paying for school and also having to pay for your cost of living, and for them to be able to help take care of that, it completely eliminated that obstacle.
So how does being able to choose the people that you want from the city of Orlando make the fire department better?
They're invested in the community that they grew up in. They could be responding to friends or family members that they grew up with.
This is Xavier Miranda, who is just 19 years old. Xavier, you just graduated from high school from the east side of Orlando. You feel like you hit the jackpot.
I feel like I hit the jackpot. It was a golden ticket.
Do you feel like you're going to work harder for this community because you're from here?
If I were to go on a call in the future, then I know it could be my family. I want to be to the best of my abilities and do the best that I can.
This community helped raise me, so I think that I'm going to help take better care of it because I care so much for this community.
And to find the recruits, the chief tells me the fire department has started advertising heavily in Orlando and does recruiting at job fairs and even high schools, because now they can hire just about anyone they want who really wants to be a firefighter instead of those who can just afford to. Protecting our community in Orlando, Eric Von Aiken, News 6.
It's a great story. That'll do it for us here on News 6 Extra today. Thank you so much for joining us. Julie Brunton will be back on News 6 at 4 with your full forecast. And of course, we'll have all of the day's headlines and news that you need. Thank you again for joining us, and have a pleasant day.